So, my friend, let me tell you this tale of ludonarrative
We're
dissonance.
we're ready to rock and roll.
I was doing a thing. I was
Are
doing
you
an
doing a
intro
thing?
thing.
You can do it. Do it. Go ahead. Do it again.
Well, my friend, let me tell you the tale of ludonarrative dissonance.
What's what Naruto?
So, I take it you haven't heard the term ludonarrative dissonance then?
Naruto narrative dissidence.
Ludonarrative dissonance.
Ludo narrative dissidence.
Dissonance.
Ludo narrative dissonance.
There you go. Basically, what that means is it's a really fancy term for describing when the story of a game and the gameplay of a game don't match.
The story of a game and the gameplay of a game do not match. Right? Okay. You know what? That actually it's starting to ring some wedding bells now.
It's a fairly commonly used term.
Yeah, I think I probably do know about it actually. I've just never really heard it pronounced. It's always been in reading. But no, right, I think I know what you're talking about. Go on.
So, for example, if you're playing a game where you play as a police officer and then in the open world you can run down pedestrians with no precautions or whatever, it just lets you do it, then that's ludonarrative dissonance because it doesn't make sense that the character would do that.
I was more thinking it would be like if you're a police officer in a video game and then in the free roam you can just like parkour and run up walls.
No, I mean, I guess that could be it. If it's not been established that the character can do that, then yes.
I mean, yeah, just like a normal police op, like L.A. Noir, and you start playing like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different applications. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about ludonarrative dissonance is because last week I was quite harsh on a good old Red Dead Redemption.
I would say so. Yes.
So at that point I was about 6 hours in. I'm now about 36 hours in.
So you've been playing a lot of it, is what you're trying to
I've
tell
been
me,
playing a
Ken.
lot of it, and you know what? I was enjoying it so little that after we had that conversation on the podcast, I wrote up a
Yes.
script for a video. I recorded the dialogue for the video, and I was in the process of gathering footage to make examples. And then, whilst doing that, I decided to give the game another chance. And now I don't agree
Right.
with anything I wrote in the video. But
So this is a video we will never be seeing.
most likely not, no. Unless I heavily adapt it in some way. Anyway, I think the reason that I wasn't meshing with the game properly was heavily based on this ludonarrative dissonance problem, where in the story the character is a criminal who does bad things, but when you're out in the open world, you have the option to not be an asshole, and you can like help people on the side of the road and stuff.
I thought cowboys were more like anti-heroes, where like they do bad things, but like from their twisted point of view, it can be for the right reasons.
Kind of. I mean, in this game, you play as an outlaw. You don't play as a cowboy.
Ah, okay.
So you rob trains and you kill people and stuff in the story.
That's pretty bleak.
But in the single player, you can be a nice, honourable person who doesn't accept payment and just helps people on the side of the road. And it was really jarring switching from one to the other.
Alright, okay, so like you could be the really nice person in free roam, and the second you enter the kind of narrative story that the game's wanting you to play through, you start just pillaging and raping.
Well, not raping, but pillaging, definitely. And it just wasn't working for me because I don't particularly like playing as villains. There's
Yes.
plenty of people who do, but that's not something I enjoy.
In Mass Effect, you only play Paragon,
I
is what you're
only
saying.
play Paragon in Mass Effect. That's a great example.
Yeah, well, I mean, did you see the video of the guy that punched a feminist in Red Dead Redemption 2?
No.
Right, it kind of blew up as a thing. There was this, and it all happened in Red Dead. This is not a real world thing, but he was walking around the town or something. I don't know the location names in the game. And he was putting it together as like a funny in-game compilation thing. And then there's like a woman that's like, you know, women rights for votes and stuff, and like then he comes round to her and just stands in front of her for 30 seconds and lets her give her like woman right to vote speech, and then he just punches her to the ground and feeds her to some alligators, I think.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's like my friend sent it to me at the time. I didn't really find it funny, but then I read a thing saying that after the kind of video reached a certain level of notoriety, YouTube suspended the person's account for that specific part of the video.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so after they suspended it, it kind of got funnier. But at the time, I just didn't really care about it. I found it unremarkable. But this is would punching a feminist in the face fit the story of the game, or would that be more Naruto narrative?
Well, here's the thing. As the game progresses story-wise, I became more wrong about the ludonarrative dissonance. So, at first, I thought that the character inside and outside wasn't... It didn't feel like the same person, if you know what I mean. Like, it was really stark. But as the game progresses, this is kind of a spoiler, but the story becomes better and more good guy-ish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess you can't be a bad guy the whole game, or else you kind of feel like, why am I doing these things?
Well, that was a line I had in my videos. Why is this called Red Dead Redemption? It should just be called Continued Criminal Behaviour. But
That's good. I like that.
it was a good line, that's why I included it. But
Well, I mean, I gotta say that that's why it's called Red Dead Redemption. It's because there will be a turning point in the story where the character starts to become good. You could say that about maybe, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I know the title of Redemption is not in the title, but that's kind
it's
of
a similar
the heart
idea,
of the
though,
game.
yeah.
You're a bad guy, and then you start to have some turning actions where you're an anti-hero, and the game just ends with you being a full-on hero.
That's a great example. I didn't actually think on that. So, the reason I'm going all about this is because I just want to say, when I did the podcast last time, Red Dead
Yeah.
Redemption 2 was sitting at maybe a 5 out of 10 for me.
Right.
And it's now sitting at about an 8.
Oh.
The story starts off really boring because it doesn't feel like anything's happening. But once you get about 6 hours in, the story skyrockets and just goes on a great incline of superiority. So I will say, if anyone's like me and they're not enjoying it because you have to do bad things,
See if
it gets better.
if you said that about a TV show and you say you just watch the first 6 hours, the first 6 episodes, and it gets better, you'd have people telling you to go and fuck off.
It's different with the game, though.
Well,
I think
I know.
because...
6 hours can pass a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I've heard people on various other shows talk about how they think that the essential tutorial for the game is potentially maybe the first 7 hours or something of gameplay, and you think that maybe a lot of players won't get through that kind of barrier because it's quite a lot.
That would be my worry too. They front load a whole bunch of stuff that makes you think it's going to be important. Like last time I harped on about all of the side stuff that was really bothering me. Like
Yeah.
all this. Once you get further into the game, that stuff starts to matter a lot less. Like they heavily establish hunting as a thing, and then when you get into the story, you realize that you basically never have to hunt ever. So
it really was the tutorial essentially.
Yeah.
It just makes you aware of it, but it's not something you'll have to ever
there's
really do.
there's 3 missions at the start of the game that all revolve around hunting. So it's a safe assumption that okay, this is going to be a thing through the whole game that you have to hunt.
No,
That's not
yeah, I
actually
would.
the case.
I mean, personally for me, I don't really find hunting video games an enjoyable experience. Go back to Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, I would kind of do it to craft those kind of upgrades, but I would never do it to craft consumables. If it was a consumable, I would just buy the consumable. I find hunting very tedious in video games, especially if you need to chase the animal when it starts running away. Maybe Red Dead Redemption 2 does it different, but just in my
It
experience, I don't
doesn't.
find that.
They run away if you scare them. You have to sneak up to them, shoot them with a bow. Same old, same old.
Yeah, it's not a fun experience for me, no thanks. I'm happy I didn't go to this game. 'Cause everyone's talking about Red Dead Redemption 2, it's taking over the world. As you know, it should, I suppose. It's the new, it's the new toy.
Did you hear
Everyone's
the
loving
most
it.
recent stats that it hit like 17 million copies sold, and
Yes,
it's already surpassed the first game?
yes, I did
It's
see that. Yeah,
ridiculous.
I know. I mean, again, I missed the hype for this because mainly 'cause I didn't play the first one, but I just missed the hype. I don't know, it wasn't
You
my
should play the
thing.
first game.
Uh,
I
I don't know
I think
if it
I
gets a
think
remaster on Xbox One or if they do a Games for Gold with it, then
I
sure.
think it was already Games with Gold a while ago. I could be wrong about that.
There's a list somewhere people can check
Yeah.
and berate us in the comments.
I'll leave my final notes. I think eventually, when the story starts happening in Red Dead 2, I think it's probably better than the first game. But overall, I think the first one is a better game overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Does any character have like a little small floaty chair like Master Yoda did in the Star Wars prequels?
Yes, actually, yeah.
But seriously?
No, no, it doesn't. There's no floaty chairs. What the fuck are you talking
Oh,
about?
I wish that would have been the best Easter egg ever because it's a prequel. Oh. This is
Oh, I get it.
musical cut.
I get it. It's a prequel thing.
Yeah.
Let me switch over to my list of topics here. Oh, I had some follow up on Xbox avatars as well.
All right. Okay. Yes, I actually. So, Kyle, I noticed that you have started using the new Xbox One avatar system after we last recorded.
Yes, which may be surprising because I wasn't very kind.
Yes, Kyle, you weren't very kind. I was giving it a try and you were just not even entertaining it. And I've seen you've changed your ways. Why is this? Tell us in the audience.
Let me explain my. I have a couple of reasons for this. Number one is when I'm a man who often looks at my achievements,
You do.
and at the top of the achievements, there's a small leaderboard of like the top 3 people on your friends list.
And you're always number one.
I'm always number one, of course, but my avatar was really standing out as a sore thumb and like going against the visual style that Xbox is going for.
Yeah.
And it really stood out. Like they've added like new shading effects as along with the new avatars. I don't know if you've picked up on that,
I had picked up on it. I thought that was a big deal about how that's why they look so different, you know?
but it makes the old avatars look strange. They don't quite mesh with
It
it.
makes them look very flat, I think.
Yes. So the next thing is I was a little bit jealous of how expressive the new avatars are. I will say that's
Yes.
one thing I like more about them
I
is
think
that
it's
they're
just my only problem really is the new art style and you don't get to bring over the kind of the things you actually spent real money on. But I thought you were a lot more angry with them than I was.
I thought that too, but the more I started staring at them, the more I went like, okay, I can make this work for me. I think I've got an avatar that looks pretty much like me now. So
Yeah, I see. When I saw your new avatar, I didn't even need to read the name associated with it. I just thought, well, that's Kyle's avatar.
yeah, I'm
I
not
don't think
super happy with the hairstyle, but
I don't,
what are you gonna do?
I don't think mine represents me particularly well. But then
I
I think,
actually think yours is one of the better ones on my friends list.
oh, thank you. Well, no, I honestly feel like my avatar is like, well, me as a person actually. So I think I'm like default face number 3. Like I don't think I need much customization. So
Don't be so hard on yourself.
whenever I look at my avatar, I think, I mean, it probably looks like me with an rounding error, but I didn't really need to put a lot of work into it, and I just think that people will probably be able to tell,
You went for the hoverboard.
I went for the hoverboard mainly because I just watched Back to the Future 2, and like it was that or unicorn,
Fair enough.
I thought
I just went for a really bored expression, which I thought channeled me quite well, and as well as my slight resentment for having to switch to the new avatars.
I don't know if I picked an expression. I know that the hoverboard's the prop.
Yeah, the props kind of replace the personality things.
Oh, do they? The only thing I didn't like was the prop doesn't activate like in a 30-second loop, but it would come and go.
It's constant.
It's
Yeah.
constant, and I don't like that. I really think, because at least sometimes when you're like 13 years old and you're using the old avatar system and you want to see your avatar use the prop, sometimes you feel like you need to like you know prod it with a stick. You're like, come on, do the thing.
But
But
now your guy just darts all over the place constantly.
Yeah, when he's just flying around, no, stand still. And he can take off the prop then. Yeah, but I still wanted to use it sometimes, just not every single time I happen to see the guy.
Okay, well, I switched new avatars. We'll see how long it lasts.
We will. I mean, I think we should probably have renamed last week's episode to Accidental Overreaction, because so far the topics of this episode seem to be backtracking on everything that was ever said.
I'm a very frugal person. That's not the right words.
Kyle's going to be saying that The Last Jedi is rubbish, and I'm going to be saying that it's great. This is the way this is going.
Speaking of The Last Jedi, no, I'm joking. Do you have movie or TV news, or can I talk about more game stuff? New game stuff.
I have some thunks about TV and movies that I've seen.
Hit me.
I saw the new biopic about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Starring that dude from Mr. Robot.
Starring Rami Malek, who was in Mr. Robot. I've never seen Mr. Robot. I actually know him from Night at the Museum. He plays the mummy.
Does he? Oh yeah.
He plays the prince guy. Yeah, see,
yeah.
See, he's all coming back now.
It's been ages since I watched this film.
It's been years since I watched this film. I still haven't seen Night at the Museum 3, and I'm really annoyed because I think it was like one of the last films Robin Williams did before he died. So I saw Bohemian Rhapsody, and for some reason, I mean, maybe for most people this isn't like a wild thing, but for me it was really annoying me. The film had been out for like 5 days or something, 6 days, and I hadn't seen it. And more and more people were starting to see it every day. Someone else had seen it and I hadn't, and it was really disproportionately so. I was getting really annoyed that I hadn't seen the Queen film yet. And I'm a big Queen fan.
You are like the biggest Queen fan I know. So.
Yeah, I'm a big Queen fan. And so eventually, me and my friends, we all got together. Some of me and my friends, we have like a shared calendar thing, and we noticed that we had a date where no one was busy, and we're like, at this time we're all free, let's go. So we all went, and I really, really enjoyed it, Kyle. I really did, but I was kind of hoping for a more of a dramatic story. Like, can we do spoilers, or are you really interested in seeing the film?
I probably won't.
Right, well, I was expecting the film to kind of go past the point that it ends at, and I thought it was going to really go through Freddie Mercury's problem with AIDS. I know the film is about the band, but he's basically the main character of the film, Freddie Mercury. He really follows him, and then they do like a bit where they see him getting diagnosed, and he sees a guy out in the corridor in the hospital that's clearly he's very much progressed with the AIDS virus, and it's kind of like, what if you know what happened to Freddie Mercury at the end of his life? He kind of looks kind of ghostly, a little bit like how Freddie Mercury did look at the end of his life. And it was a really touching scene because Freddie Mercury didn't want anyone to know he did, so he kind of tried to do it very secretively. And then this person, I don't know if this actually happened in real life, but this person actually notices him in the hospital, and they have a little kind of brief back and forth like Freddie would do when he was on stage with the audience. And it was a really touching moment, and it was the only part in the film that actually, made me a little bit emotional. And I was really disappointed that the film didn't do it more, because it was more of just a love letter to Freddie as a performer and the band together on stage. The film ends at Live Aid in 1985, which, I mean, that was probably one of the best musical performances ever, right? If anyone knows anything about Live Aid, you always, Queen, they were there and did a great job. But when the film ends there, when it ended, I was like, wait, what? That's it? That's it? There's more? I want more! Because I know the story really well, and I was like, I guess if you're not really too familiar with the Queen story and the Freddie Mercury story, maybe I guess some of these things will be emotional and surprising for you, because I knew it really well. I felt like I wanted maybe more than they were willing to give. And I know Freddie, he never wanted to be a poster boy for, the AIDS epidemic and stuff when he was alive. That's why he kept it so secretive until just before he died. And maybe the band were very because I know for a long time there's people like Sacha Baron Cohen, Ali G and all that. He was supposed to play Freddie Mercury for a long
That's what I
time.
was going to talk about because I'd heard before the film that there was a whole bunch of contractual things that went wrong, and Sacha Baron Cohen wanted to make the movie that you're talking about,
Yes,
focusing on Freddie Mercury,
Sacha
but the
Baron.
band that wouldn't allow that.
Yes, the band wouldn't allow that, and this film, despite its glam amazement, if you're just a fan of the music and stuff, you're gonna really like this film. And I say again, I really did like this film, but I felt like maybe it's just me being greedy, but I did really kind of want not a dark or villainous story. I didn't want to change my opinion on Freddie Mercury. I think he's just one of the greatest musicians, one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. But I did kind of want more of a. I wanted to come out of the film feeling like I'd just been emotionally winded. It didn't happen for me. This film kind of was just very. This is way in rock and roll, and it did tell a story, and it goes on about how he came out to his family and, his gay relationships, and he was married to a woman at one point. And for the most part, the film is very accurate to true tellings, but you can really feel watching it that out of the Queen versus Sacha Baron Cohen, watching it you can tell who won that argument. You can tell Roger Taylor and Brian May got what they wanted. This is the film they wanted, which is great. Obviously, they have way more of a right to say how the film's made than I do. But, just me personally, I kind of wanted a little bit more, though I know everyone's saying it's one of the best movies of the year. I think it's one of the best movies of the year, but I don't think it's necessarily probably in my top three, like a lot of people have it in their top three. I don't. Which is a shame, because I'm a really big Queen fan.
Well, as long as you enjoyed it, though.
I enjoyed it, but I had lots of complicated thoughts, as you can tell,
Would
But
you recommend it?
you know what? Yes, I would. And despite me being a little bit disappointed, I think that's very personal to me. But I think by and large, everyone will love this film. I think if somebody were to go see it and not enjoy it, they'd be very surprised. It's so good. So good, Could be better personally, but I think if you take that out of it, it was the film it needed to be. Did a great job, and it's a total love letter to Queen as a band. This might be quite topical, not in regards to what we just spoke about, but in terms of there was an election in the United States of America, and also to go along with that, we had the release of House of Cards Season 6, the final season of House of Cards.
The one with an empty spacey, am I right? Well.
That's good. Yeah, so yeah, the one with an empty spacey. No Kevin Spacey in this last season. And for the whole, ever since they announced Kevin Spacey will not be returning, not everyone, sorry, by and large, over 3/4 of people are like, no Spacey, no show, everybody was just refusing to believe you can do this show without Kevin Spacey. And at first, and when I say at first, I really mean at the start, maybe for the first couple of weeks, I was like, I'm worried about how you can, because it was going to be the last season anyway, and they'd announced it was going to be a shorter season. How can you do it without him? I was really worried about how they would land it. I thought it was going to be awful, and then partly because I wanted to re-catch up before season 6, and partly because I wanted to see if I missed anything, I went and rewatched the last 5 seasons, maybe over the summer or something, and I watched it all. And I really, really enjoyed rewatching it because it had been a while. And Christ, see when you look at those Netflix thumbnails and you see Kevin Spacey's character get older and older and older, and by season 5 he's got like white hair, it's really stark because the first time you watch it, it happens so naturally. But when you're going back through the catalogue, you're like, Christ, he looks really young in the first couple of seasons. But yeah, you know what? And then I started to think when I finished the rewatch, they can do a final season. They can do a final season without Kevin Spacey. It can be done. Personally, I think the show, and heck, probably everyone thinks this, even if morally they wouldn't want to support it, the show would objectively have been better had Kevin Spacey been featured in the final season. But obviously that wasn't going to happen, so they kind of worked with what they had. And it wasn't the worst season of House of Cards, honestly. Season 3 of House of Cards is pretty rough. I don't think any season is bad, but season 3 was pretty rough. I think this is probably my second favourite, my second least favourite season, this last season. Robin Wright is Claire Underwood, Frank Underwood, Kevin Spacey's wife in the show. She took over as president because she was vice president. In the marketing for the show, they say that the Kevin Spacey character, Frank Underwood, he has died, and it happens between seasons. and everyone kind of suspected how they would have killed him off. But the whole season's kind of a mystery about who killed him. But the fact is he's dead, and it's kind of like they think they know how he died, but who is responsible for the thing that made him die?
So they actually incorporate it into the show and didn't just sort of brush it to the side.
They can't do a single episode without mentioning Frank Underwood. You know, it's and they kind of have you seen Ocean's 8?
No, I haven't.
Right, okay, well in Ocean's 8 they do a lot of pregnant suspense shots where, not suspense shots, but delayed shots with some negative space off to the side of certain angles where they're specifically talking about the George Clooney character. And anybody who knows anything about film, you know, the negative space, you think they're going to fill it with something, that's why it's there in a shot. And it happens all the time in everything. There's always negative space for a reason if you're going to fill it, unless you're trying to do a fake out and you keep thinking George Clooney's going to walk around that corner. He isn't supposed to be in this film, but he's going to walk around the corner because some other people from the other Ocean's films had cameoed in the film. And in the end they don't do it, but they delay on it so long, and they kind of leave the door open to imply that he could return, but he's not in the film. But they keep hanging it over your head that thinks maybe he will. They do that throughout this season a number of times. You keep thinking, yes, the character's dead, but the whole time they keep talking about his will, what they left in the will. Oh, the will is actually on a computer chip. Then like, oh, it's an audio recording. And when you first find it, you think maybe I know it's really maybe not the bet. It will just cause media outrage. But maybe they got Kevin Spacey to do some independent kind of shots where like it's a recording, so you can film it on his own or something. You know, they incorporate it into the show, and it's like him doing a video will where he's talking to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they say no, it's an audio tape, you know, because apparently the character left like an audio diary, and people have got earphones, and certain characters like, here, listen to this, and the screen goes, you know, quiet. You can't hear the ambience or anything. It's just silent, and the person puts in the earphones, and you think the next thing you're going to hear is Kevin Spacey, you know, a quote. And the recordings are from things, because in the show Kevin Spacey's character is famous for kind of breaking the fourth wall and speaking to the viewer. Yep. And what we found out the audio diaries are in the last season are those fourth wall breaks. So you didn't even need to get them back. You could have just used the previous fourth wall breaks as part of the audio diary, because they quote those fourth wall breaks. Other characters say them who've listened to it. You keep thinking, have they got, you know, are we gonna hear anything to do with this character? Even in like certain shots at the funeral and stuff, you never see his face, obviously, because they never got Kevin Spacey back. But they keep taunting you with maybe, just maybe, you know, and. Again, the show ultimately, I think it would have been better with Kevin Spacey, but see, if you've not got him, just don't even use him. Like, the character is dead, you can do that, and then really hammer ahead with the plot that you've got going. It felt like more of the Kevin Spacey death was just looming over it because they wanted to talk about the will and stuff. And then the last shot of the show between two key pivotal characters that have been in it since season 1, they kind of have a confrontation. And it was quite, I don't know, the way it ended, it was so like, this didn't feel like a final season. This felt like you're trying to make more. Even though the whole thing about how this is the last season, it's a shorter season, it's the final season, we're done. And it was going to be the final season whether Kevin Spacey was around for it or not, but it just ended in such a way where it feels like maybe because they knew there was going to be a lot of press about the Kevin Spacey thing, they thought, right, okay, we now have like a woman lead, and you know, there's a whole bunch of things have happened in this season that are very kind of centric to certain topical issues, and they thought maybe if this is seen with an overwhelming amount of great responses, we can just continue on House of Cards without Kevin Spacey and go on from here, even though they said it was the last season. And from what I've seen so far is this season has been met with such a mute response, still Kevin Spacey holdouts, or just people that have seen it like me that think it's okay, but thank God it was the last season. And I think maybe if that was the plan, there's nothing to indicate that it is officially, but when you watch it, you kind of get that impression from the last episode. I think, well, you know, I'm happy that you're done, but you should have just kept your word. And if you really thought this was your last season, you should have made it feel like it was going to be your last season, because you leave it so open-ended, ridiculously open-ended. Nothing really feels tied up apart from who was responsible for the death of the Kevin Spacey character. That's the only thing they tie up in this season.
I mean, I should clarify. I've not watched House of Cards. That's why Nathan is explaining all of this to me. But
I'm trying to be not spoilery with the
yeah,
TV
yeah.
show because I think more people will
But I'm
watch
just
that.
wondering. Like you said, just don't even bother with the Kevin Spacey's character. But if he was the main character, then you have to explain why he's not there anymore. And I think incorporating that into the story is the best thing they could have done. Once again, I've
Yes,
not watched it, but that would be my idea.
I would say in no circumstance do you just brush it under the carpet. The character's dead, but they explain they explain the circumstances for his death, and they explain the funeral, and they explain that oh, your husband was the president, now you're the president because his wife was the vice president, and it's very like okay, now they know why he's died, but then they feel a needless need. I think it's for the sake of one character actually, because they want that character to continue being a part of the show as well. They kind of make you question if why he died was solely responsible, or maybe there was something more to it. Maybe someone killed the Kevin Spacey character. Maybe he just didn't die because of medication complications from like a and the medication complications do link into something because in previous seasons he was shot. That was like a thing that happened, and then they say that there was a complication due to that and the medication he was taking. That's why he died. But then they say maybe there's a reason the medication had a mishap. It's like no, 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 no. Just there was a problem with the medication. The character died. It was tragic. Everyone was very sad in that universe. Move on. Don't bring to the last episode. You're the reason he's dead. Dun dun dun. No. Thank you. Please, if you're going to do your own thing, do it. Don't keep trying to hover over the Kevin Spacey character. Explain what happened, do your funeral episode, and then get on with it.
But wouldn't it be better if it was a murder mystery? Wouldn't that be more interesting?
Yeah, but that's like a B plot.
I would make that the main plot if I was the writer. The president got assassinated.
Yeah.
Sounds like a major plot to me.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't the main plot. It was a B plot, and it was just this weird undertone where they can't do an episode without talking about it. It was so needless. And
An underwood tone?
God damn it, Ken. God damn it. Right, we're done. No more House of Cards.
No, you were making a point. Finish your point.
I don't think there's a point anymore, really. I mean, just they kind of interweave the B plot in with the A plot in the very last scene, and it didn't feel like it was meant to happen, even though the wife of the person that died is also the president of the country, so naturally the things would maybe intertwine, but they don't really touch until the end. Nah, like I say, it wasn't the worst season, but it was not even anywhere near the best. If you're done, you're definitely done now. Do not give us another season. You're super done. House Cards, you had good. It was a 6-season show. All 6 seasons were good. Some were just serviceable and some were brilliant. This probably was just a serviceable season.
Finn. Okay, I'm going to bring us back to games, because something interesting happened last week.
Ladies and gentlemen, you ready? Something interesting happened in games. What's it going to be? Let's go.
So, you heard of this thing called BlizzCon?
Oh, yes, I've heard of the BlizzCon thing. Yes, please explain to the listener.
Well, there was a few interesting things that happened at BlizzCon. BlizzCon, of course, the personal convention of Blizzard, the company that makes World of Warcraft, Overwatch, one of those MOBAs, I can't remember which, and of course, a little game called Diablo. Diablo is a pretty big, it's a massive franchise, or it's got a massive fan base anyway. I've never played them. I'm assuming you've never played them.
I've briefly played a little bit of Diablo 3 at someone's house, but nothing really intertwined, because isn't Diablo 3 the only one that got a console port?
Yes, and apparently that was a big thing at the time, but...
So, yeah, but apart from that, without any... But I played it with no context, so I'm not really sure of any of the specifics.
Anyway, they're big, like, dungeon crawler type games. And at BlizzCon, they announced a new Diablo game called Diablo Immortal, which is a phone exclusive game.
Hadn't they been hyping it up for a little bit beforehand, and then they tried to temper expectations just before BlizzCon because they thought maybe this might backfire?
I don't think they were hyping up so much as they just said they were working on things, and that got people hyped up.
Right, okay, because the Diablo fanbase are so passionate, right?
Anyway, they announced it was a phone game, and people freaked the fuck out. This was a massive
This would be like if they
thing.
announced. This would be like if they announced Halo Infinite was a mobile game.
Yeah,
It,
it
yeah,
is spun ridiculously out of proportion. There was people booing at them on the stage. A guy came up and asked them if it was all an April Fool's joke, and
yeah.
people cheered him. It was ridiculous.
Somebody asked if there was the intent to port to PC in the future, and then their response was, "What? You guys don't have phones? Fuck you! Of course we've got phones, but we've been looking for another Diablo game that's like not because the stigma that mobile games I kind of think rightly have that if you do a mobile entry, that's the side project. That should never be your main project unless your whole business model is the mobile market. Which, if that's what they're shifting to, don't use it with the Diablo IP, you know. So I think people are rightly annoyed.
See, here's my thing. I'm gonna take, I guess, the devil's advocate side here, but I am sympathetic to Blizzard here because
Actually,
no one wants to go up on stage and be booed. That's like
no. Of course
that's
not.
some heartbreaking stuff, and
That's career suicide.
I don't think. I think maybe they should have expected this reaction, but clearly they weren't expecting this reaction.
No. Can I
Oh, okay.
finish your thought? But I've got a response to you already.
It's just I don't have a problem with them trying to make a phone game. I think that's if you want to make a phone game, that's fine. Make a phone game. And I lost my train of thought. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say that I think they probably were not expecting this kind of reaction because before you make a game that's not in your typical market, you obviously are going to look at numbers, pure salesmanship and all that, right? You're going to see how many people play mobile games, right? And the mobile game market is ludicrous. It's very lucrative, but it is also ludicrous. It's massive. It's stupid, wild. You know, so many little developers that can make a game. Remember Flappy Bird? You know, the shit.
Oh boy, do I remember Flappy Bird.
The shit you can do. You know, and just get so much money for doing fuck all. That's the mobile market. If you ever want an analogy for the mobile market, think of Flappy Bird. You know, and I think that was what they were trying to tap into. If he can do that with all that little one guy in Vietnam can do all that, how much can we do with a fully funded studio with a professional dev team, you know? And I feel like Diablo Immortal is to cash in on the hardcore Diablo fans that will not say no matter what it is as long as that name is attached to it. But it's also to tap into just people that primarily play games on their phone and that's it. There's a massive market for it. I know if you're a hardcore gamer, you're going to play the PC and the consoles like, you know, we do, or me and you're mainly console. But, you know, I think that definitely they were trying to tap into the mobile market, but your mobile market entries are always, if you're doing it with an IP, if you're doing an entry with that IP on a mobile market, you got to make it very clear that this is a side venture and it is not your main thing. Unless that is what you're announcing, that's fine. But then do not be surprised when you get such a big backlash because...
Well, this is great because there's a few examples where you can point to and say, hey, Blizzard, this is how you should have done it. So number one is at E3 this year at the Bethesda convention, they also announced the Skyrim, or not Skyrim, but an Elder Scrolls phone game.
Yes.
But after that announcement, and you could tell everyone was like, oh, phone game. After that, they had the teaser for Elder Scrolls 6 and everyone cheered.
Well,
So that
it wasn't the announcement of Skyrim on the Amazon Echo, no?
No, they announced it was just a trailer that showed Elder Scrolls 6 and it's like, we're working on this, and that got everyone excited, so they forgave a phone game, right?
Yeah.
That's one way you can do it.
That's
The other
probably
way
the best way you can do it.
That's the best way you can do it. Or the best way you can do it is, you heard of a little game called Assassin's Creed Champions?
No.
No, of course not, because it's a phone game that's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like Fallout Shelter, but in the Assassin's Creed universe.
Ah, yes, okay.
And it's a phone game, and no hype for it whatsoever. They just released a trailer for it on YouTube, and that was it. That's the other way you do a phone game, is you just don't draw attention to it.
Yeah, I would agree that is another way to do it. But
Blizzard messed up so much by announcing it at their own convention at like the big Diablo panel, so everyone was expecting like a full game.
I know really think that what they should have done, like you said, with their what's it called?
Elder Scrolls.
The Elder Scrolls. They announce the other thing after it. You know, you've got your, this is what we kind of want you to buy in the next 6 months. Here is what we are definitely 100% giving you in the next year, next 2 years maybe. This is coming. You know, all Diablo people could say is, we've got this game we would like you to buy now, but at one point in maybe 5 years we'll give you something. Maybe give you something.
Here's
you know,
here's like
so,
one
so
screen that says Diablo 4, and then everyone would cheer. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, that is.
And they would have saved that whole thing.
I think they really, really wanted to cash in on this mobile market though as much as possible, even from their Diablo fans. They didn't care. Do you remember at E3 also they announced a new what's the Command and Conquer? They announced a new mobile Command and Conquer game.
Yep.
They never emphasised the fact it was Command and Conquer. It was just a reveal that this is a Command and Conquer game. I think you can do it that way as well.
That painful on stage demonstration though.
Right, cut that out, right? But they did like a trailer and you didn't really know what it was, and it was just. But at the end, you knew it was a mobile game, but it was more just the selling point that okay, it's a mobile game and it happens to have the Command and Conquer IP on it. But what they did at BlizzCon was they said it's a new Diablo game. That's the selling point, but it's a mobile game.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. You do it's a mobile game that happens to be Diablo. They said it's Diablo, but it happens to be a mobile game. It's not what you do if you don't want to piss anyone off. They really should have announced the Diablo 4 thing. I agree with you completely. That would have saved it. One screen that said we have more news for you next year on Diablo 4 or something.
It's so bizarre because Blizzard is one of, if not the biggest game companies. Like, it's massive. World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, all of these, like, massive franchises that are just, like household names.
In almost no way Blizzard interacts with my video game experience. I have so little interest in Blizzard.
You would still know all of the Blizzard games.
Completely, but I would just like to say that everything I'm saying is not really coming from a point of interest on my personal part.
I think we can be a little less biased on this because we're not Diablo fans. And I have to say,
personally, I'm just not.
Even though I think this was a terrible marketing decision, I still think that the overreaction was a bit extreme. I mean, it's just a phone game, really.
Again, yes, on one hand, you're just an entitled fan, and it's just a phone game. But I think it was all to do with the perception of it. It really seemed like two people in the moment that everyone, they knew, the people at Blizzard, they knew that people are expecting a new big game, new big Diablo game, right? And then they announced a mobile game which has the stigma, which everyone knows about. Purely looking at numbers in business, you might not be able to tell because it's very lucrative, but from a common sense person in the fandom community, you can tell that mobile games are so much lesser. People were wanting a new game and they completely fumbled their marketing. It was all to do with the perception where they go, oh, it's a mobile game. It's a mobile game. You've built this up as like the next Diablo game, Diablo Immortal, and it's just a mobile game. People have that stigma around mobile games, and maybe that says something about maybe people need to get off their high horse about mobile games. I have games on my phone, I play them every single day. But, like, I still think there is the stigma. It's a franchise that you love and they just say it's a mobile game. You know, it's like a...
I mean, I have to say that this is more of a general thing, but no offense PC gamers, but PC gamers, you're some of the most stuck-up assholes I've ever met. I mean, really?
That's very true. That's very true.
Like, I know, like, we're console people, and I don't care which console you play. I don't care if you play PC, but PC people, more often than not, and this is the common stereotype, is they're just so stuck up about it. It's like, oh, you
They're,
can't play a real game unless you're playing it on the most high-end XXX 3000D PC. And it's just, shut up. I don't care.
I don't.
And
I
I think that
don't.
does bleed into the Diablo thing, because there was also,
Yeah.
this is a bit before our time, the whole Diablo 3 controversy about it being ported to consoles. This was a whole big thing.
I'll say this. I don't agree with the booing when people boo because that's just cringy. However, for years now, when I watch a conference and someone announces something that's painfully boring or uninteresting, and the audience just sit in respectful silence, I get being in the room. That is the ideal thing, what you want to happen. From a sheer person sitting in their high castle watching it on the internet and you see people boo at them, part of me kind of goes, yeah, fuck them, yeah, you're right to be annoyed, you're a fan and they've just given you a mobile game. Like, that's my kind of, my petty side that's like, yeah, for her, yeah, Mischief Goblin. But then, yeah, from being on that stage and people booing you, I mean, Christ, you did put in a lot of fucking work. Like, it's not easy to make a mobile game, especially when you're doing that much work to it. Then there was the argument that, it might be just a clone of another game, I saw that evidence and whatnot. And if that's the case, maybe they're onto something, but that wasn't what they were booing for. They weren't booing that it was a reskinned
No, they were booing the idea of a fun game.
Yeah, which I guess I don't necessarily agree with. Like I said, people didn't boo at the Command and Conquer thing, but I think that's because it was mobile game first, Command and Conquer second. Whereas I think they sold Diablo first, mobile game second. Which I know.
The whole Command and Conquer thing was weird.
That the whole playing a live game of like MLG Gaming Pro.
Didn't they play it live before they announced what the title of the game was, or something?
No.
I feel like I remember them doing that.
I'm sure they showed like a cut trick. Maybe they did. That was weird. Yeah, okay, I thought they did it after they announced the title, but no, yeah, I think you're right. I'm
pretty sure it was before.
Oh, that was weird. But it didn't offend anyone. Didn't offend any hardcore Command and Conquer PC Master Race people.
I don't know I think Command and Conquer is such an old IP now that people are like, oh, it's a Command and Conquer game? Why? Yeah. Why is it a Command and Conquer game?
To be honest, I kind of think Diablo's quite old as well. I don't really see Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo's quite old, but Diablo has a massive committed fan base though.
You talking shit about the dedicated Command and Conquer fan base, Kyle? Trying to say they're not annoyed about a shitty mobile game?
I don't think there is one.
That's probably quite true. I've never been to Command Con.
Command and Conquer is only known for Tim Curry.
Intercut Tim Curry audio now.
You know what? I'm going to do that.
Yes,
I'm absolutely going to do that.
Please do.
And I'm going to include the link in the description.
Oh, yes.
Tim Curry in Red Alert. It's the best thing ever.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Let's not even reference it right now. Let them just find out when they listen to this section of the show.
Yep.
So, have we got anything else on the list of things? I had more things to talk about, but everything's went right out of my head. And keep a list, Nathan. Nah.
Yeah, Nathan, for the love of God, keep a list. I will say, wrapping up on BlizzCon, got some Overwatch news, which I was happy about. Keep on a positive note, that's another team, and the Overwatch team is doing great. They released a new Overwatch short, and those things are amazing. I know you don't play the game, but you should at some point check out the Overwatch animated shorts. They're like Pixar level quality things that they just released for free, and they're great. I would absolutely recommend you check them out. I suppose
if it's anything like the Meet the series for Team Fortress 2, I would quite like them.
Yes, they're like those, where they're just these really high quality animated shorts.
I guess I'll look into them.
And they announced a new character for Overwatch, voiced by Jen Hale, aka Commander Shepard.
Femship.
Yep. aka the coolest lady in voice acting.
This is a really weird side note I'm about to go on, but there's a Scottish actress, and she played Femship in like a Mass Effect fan series, like it was live action, and she like in her like Twitter bio, she's like played Commander Shepard in Mass Effect something, that was a title to it. I was like, that's interesting for a fan film. They actually went with the female Commander Shepard.
Everyone knows that the female Commander Shepard is the superior Commander Shepard.
I mean, I only play as the male Commander Shepard, so I don't know.
I've played as both, and I can tell you that Fem Shep is a much better voice actor than male Shepard.
Didn't they release for Mass Effect 3 like the launch trailer? They did like a male Shep and a Fem Shep. But the same trailer, they just had like one with the male Shepard and one with the female Shepard.
Yes, I believe they did do that.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Also,
And
the
also
interchangeable cover.
Yeah, the interchangeable cover. But for Andromeda, they did a trailer and with like a Shepard voiceover, and they only did one with Fem Shep.
They had Shepard voiceover the trailers.
This one of the trailers, the second trailer for Andromeda had a voiceover from Shepard, and it was Fem Shep.
Really? Oh, didn't know that. Really didn't know that. Is it supposed to be Shepard talking, or did you just get the same
Yes,
actor?
it is. It
Right,
ends
okay.
with "This is Commander Shepard signing off," and it was supposed to be like a passing of the torch kind of thing.
And that we can see how well that worked.
I like Andromeda, and you kind of like Andromeda too, but we'll get into that another day.
Another day. I want to talk about Fortnite.
Oh boy, tell me about Fortnite, Nathan.
Right, okay, so I went to God.
You went to God. Okay.
I went to God, right, so
Okay, good start.
they were announcing at like a time, like they said, like be on at 6 o'clock at night or whatever, and you'll get to witness the once in a lifetime experience event, right? And they do it every season for the last couple of seasons where something big on the map has been happening, something's been building up, and like every single time you go on, something will change a little bit.
Okay.
And this season 6's event was about to happen at 6 o'clock, and you needed to be on the game at that time. They advised you to load up the game a little bit early because they know there'll be queues because it'll be busy, and it was because after the event, me and the person I was with, we got kicked out of the game and couldn't get back on for another hour, so I went and played Star Wars. And I also want to talk about Star Wars, we'll get on to that. So, it comes to 5:58 PM, and me and my friend were in the battle bus. We're loading up, ready to win a battle royale, right? We jump out, and we're going to a place where there's a big spinning cube at a lake area on the map, and the cube's a big purple glowing cube. It's called Kevin, right? And
Okay.
that's like not even a joke. Like I think it started as a joke in like the Fortnite community, but then Epic Games got on board and like they started calling it Kevin. And Kevin was like flying above the lake, and he'd picked up the island in the middle of the lake, and he'd started touring it around the map, going to different areas. And this had been like the theme of the season, the floating island with a cube inside, the big purple cube was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was floating around the island, and you could like, it was floating around the map, and it was just going around, and it went back to the place it started at the start of the season, and when it got there to, there's like a whirlpool where it had left, and the whole island that it was propping up cracked into pieces, and then the cube was just floating there. And then at this event, the cube went dark. For the hour leading up to it, it had been dripping goo into the vortex, and it started to spin, and it started to spin, and it went dark, and it started to get brighter and brighter and brighter, and spinning faster and faster and faster. And everyone in the game, whether you were at Kevin or whether you were at the furthest point in the map possible, whether you knew about it or you didn't know about it, the screen just went white, like somebody had placed a flashbang down in Call of Duty, right?
Okay.
That was what happened. And me and my friend, we hid in a bush, and then when it started to spin, and it was 6 o'clock, and nothing was happening, we were like, Christ, what's happening? And like, it started to spin. So we ran at it, and we ran at it, and we got there, and we were flying around it, and then the white thing happens. And then I can describe as what was only happened was you're with God, or you were in the Matrix. Every person alive in the game was floating around this massive white environment with like white piping going to lead towards like a little tube at the bottom. And it was so weird. And then you look up, and you can't do anything except kind of just float around like you're in the womb or something. And there's this white light. Every player sees this white light, and the white light descends upon each player individually, and it breaks down into what looks like a rift. And for people who play Fortnite, you know what a rift is. For people who don't, it's like a portal you can go into that will throw you up into the sky, and then you can fly away somewhere else on the map. And the rift gets smaller and smaller, and it turns into a little butterfly, which still kind of looks like a rift, but it's shaped like a butterfly.
I feel like you're describing a dream right now. Like, what the hell is happening?
This happened! I was there! And then you reach out to the butterfly, and this is like an interactive cutscene you're a part of, and this never happens in Fortnite, apart from this once in a season event, because last season it was usually like a rocket that lifted off and flew around the map. and even though you were watching this rocket, you can still play the game, you could ignore it. No, you couldn't ignore this. The entire game fucking stopped. You had to watch this. And then you touch the butterfly, and you're suddenly back in the map above where Kevin was, and below you where Kevin had blew up. There'd been this little kind of heaven that had been created with a rainbow and made out of the shards of Kevin. There was like a Stonehenge type design going on, and like I said, there's rainbow, there's flowers, there's loot chests everywhere. So you drop down really, really quickly, because obviously if you take forever to get down, people are going to be armed up and ready to shoot you the second you landed. Like, after you'd all had this spiritual experience in the white plane, you were back to murdering each other.
Of course.
Of course.
So this happened in a multiplayer game?
With 100 people in a lobby, yes.
Wow.
It completely all happened, and me and my friend...
I would not trust people not to just shoot me while this was happening. It's like, I want to see the big glowy purple thing. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, so that... With every time this has happened, the entire lobby has pretty much been clued in on it, and there's like a unspoken truce that everyone agrees to. You can only speak to people in your team or whatnot, so you can't actually, like, you know, message other teams to be like, right, okay, don't. Just everybody kind of is aware of it. But you always get some asshole, right? And swiftly, all the teams, you could be fighting, standing right next to an enemy, and you'll kill that asshole, right? Mm-hmm. But me and my friend hid in a bush because we didn't trust the ceasefire. So then again, when we ran to it and we're flying around it, everyone's flying around it, and when you're flying around, you can't shoot. So everybody's pretty safe. Doesn't even, good or bad, you're pretty safe because you know no one's going to shoot you because they also are flying. And then we died pretty quickly because it was just utter hell. But in that moment, I felt just at peace with my gaming experience. I was like, this is great. And then I got a Snapchat from another friend who she plays PlayStation, so I didn't know she was playing Fortnite or anything at the time. I know it's cross-platform, but we don't play together. And she sent me a Snapchat of her also in this white realm, being like, what the hell is happening? And I didn't know she was playing. I didn't know she was like interested in Fortnite or whatever, and she was, what am I watching? And she knew I played it, and I was like, oh my god, you're here too! So... You know, she was like, I'm so happy I was there to witness it. She didn't even know what was going to happen. She was just somewhere else on the map. And she was taken to God like the rest of us. This happened across Nintendo Switch, iPhone, Android, PC, Xbox, PlayStation. Didn't matter what you were playing, everybody in a game at 6 PM GMT, you get taken to God, Kyle.
This sounds like a nightmare to try and set up. I'd hate to be the employees in charge of doing this.
Well, like I said, after me and my friend died in the game, we got kicked out and the whole game crashed and we couldn't access it for another hour. The servers were just overloaded.
I mean, at least they got it to work in the first place.
Yeah, at least they got it to work in the first place, I suppose. But the problem just is the increased traffic at such a central time. You know, like me and my friend, we were lucky we loaded up the game like an hour early because I actually got it timed wrong because I'm an idiot. So I was like, let's be on at 5, and then nothing happened. So we just kind of sat and played for a whole other hour. So we were like well in the game, so we didn't have to wait in a queue or anything because we were already loaded up. But other people, I could only imagine that's why the server's still crashing. More people were probably still trying to load up the game so they could like get a look at anything that had changed because they would have known they would have missed it. But it was a good experience. I was happy that I was there for it. Now on to the next season's event because the Halloween event ended because there was zombies and stuff.
Wait, what happened though? Like, why did this happen? What's going on?
Because
what's the story?
Because it was Kevin.
But there has to be like an explanation, right? Why was there a giant purple floating cube?
Right, so this goes back to season 5. A big cube appeared, and I can't quite remember why, but it started to was like every 1 hour, every hour, it started to roll, and obviously as a cube, it has to like pick itself up and flip onto another side. So every hour it would go, and it would start moving around the map very slowly. It'd take weeks and weeks and weeks, and it would move. And sometimes when it stopped, it would start to like make a big pulse. It would pulse out and create this kind of like anti-grav bubble. And also, if you shoot Kevin will shoot back with a lightning bolt. So don't piss off Kevin, and it will do damage to you. And then at certain areas, he would kind of leave the anti-grav things behind, and they would become ruin areas. And then eventually, at the end of the season, Kevin fell into the river, and when he fell into it was more of a lake. It was Loot Lake. When he fell into the lake, he like melted, and the whole lake went purple bouncy, and it became like a bouncy castle ice rink where if you touched the purple water, you would bounce and bounce and bounce. It was actually really fun. It was a big trampoline. Then, at the start of Season 6, all the purple goop like closed into one central point underneath the island in the centre of the lake. And then the island got picked up out of the ground and started to fly.
And Kevin returned, and it was a magical time.
At first, no, there was no Kevin yet. Over time, Kevin was obviously inside the island, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he started to take over parts of the house that was on the island, and that just started to get so big. And then it left behind a vortex in the water, and then it started to tour, going round the map over the course of this season, all round. See those anti-grav bubbles that I mentioned earlier? It started to go to those points. It would fly around there. And then when it eventually reached back to the lake that it originally risen up from, Kevin was back in full form. And then he cracked the island apart, and then this is when he started to spin.
This is so weird.
This is Fortnite, ladies and
gentlemen. It's
like
the weirdest form of storytelling you can possibly get.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. It's like the lore isn't specifically said, but with every update or something, they'll add something. Like at one point in Season 4, when there was a meteor strike and it destroyed a big area, they would every week they would do updates and patch notes and stuff, and they would start to add trucks. And with every update, the truck would move a little bit further. Or maybe supplies would go missing and come back. And those supplies were, with every update, they were being moved closer and closer to the place that was destroyed to try and rebuild it and stuff. And it was everything seems to, the story takes place when the updates happen. So within the downtime for an update, they're adding little bits to the lore, and it's for the player to try and find the lore themselves. There's never a written record. The players don't speak. In Save the World, they speak because there's a story there, but in Battle Royale, there's not a single word of spoken dialogue or written dialogue.
Between the single player and the multiplayer at all? They're just completely different. It's like Call of Duty Zombies. Well,
the Save the World isn't single player.
Well, it's
teams
PvE,
of 4.
Is what I meant.
It's PvE, yeah, where the Battle Royale is PvP, but yeah, there's no
the actual
game,
the two. What they were originally making.
Yeah, PvE and PvP do not interact a bit. They're completely separate games, essentially.
So it is like Call of Duty Zombies then.
It was really interesting because it worked like the old Lego games, where there was just not a single word of spoken dialogue, and everything was done through gesture, and I loved it. I really loved it. And aside, I'm not really sold on in the games Lego characters speaking. I don't like.
Well, you haven't played any of the speaking Lego games, have you?
I've seen bits of Let's Plays and stuff. I'm really not sold. But again, like I say, Fortnite gets a lot of shit. I don't know why. I have a great time with it, and I intend to have a great time with it for much time to come.
Well, I'm still never going to play it.
Remember during that Fortnite rant that I did, for the past 20 minutes, where I talk about, I briefly mentioned Star Wars. Mm-hmm. So we were given the release of a certain general in
the good general. As
I
have to ask. So you constantly refer to him as the good general. Is that like a youth thing, or is that like a Star Wars community thing?
No, that's just a me thing. No, and everyone calls him General Grievous or something. I'm just calling him the good general because something spelling out the name Grievous is a little bit annoying because I forget where the I goes.
Okay, so the good general.
So the good general, General Grievous, as I just gave away, he has recently been added to Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's the first major update of its kind in almost a year. And later this month, we're getting Obi-Wan Kenobi. General Kenobi. And we're also getting Geonosis, which is a new Galactic Assault map, which I'm really excited for. And then I think subsequently we're also getting Count Dooku and Anakin Skywalker. But General Grievous got added to the game, and I thought, I've not really played a lot of Battlefront because I just got really burnt out on it, and I felt like the ability to progress was also really slow. It took you forever to do anything. And the only people that were ever kind of left on Battlefront 2 were the hardcore Battlefront 2 people that just really bought into it, which wasn't a lot of people. The player base had a pretty steep drop off, and it's quite a shame because the game isn't awful.
It's like trying to play Battleborn.
The game isn't awful. It was really plagued with a lot of issues. But the hardcores that remained, they were unwilling to criticise the game, they were there, And then we obviously got people coming back for Grievous, including me, because I play the game maybe once every few months. Every month I played a few games, but I never really sat down for a hardcore gaming session. But I've been playing it again recently, and I've been playing as General Grievous, and I've been having fun. A little bit broken. He's a little bit broke. His abilities don't always work the best. He's like bringing out 4 arms, spinning his lightsabers, going towards people like a wall of lightsaber.
Like that one time he does that.
The one time he does that thing, that's an ability now, and it only kind of works surprisingly. At one point, there's also an ability where you can bring out all 4 lightsabers and just charge someone like you're having a joust match, and it's a very quick kill. Like you're pretty much guaranteed to kill someone one hit with it. But it also kind of works like a barge movement, where when that movement is happening, you basically have no control over your movement direction. So if the player moves out the way really quickly, 'cause it's a little bit broken, so you should kind of lock on to them, because there is a lock on feature, but it doesn't really work. You'll run right by them, and when you run right by them, if you're running into a wall, you can't turn off the ability, so you're kind of stuck. This happened to me. The game glitched, and I was stuck running into a wall, and like my first time playing as General Grievous in a game of Galactic Assault, I was really annoyed because I'd spent like a lot of points on him, and I couldn't fucking play him. And he also has a spider movement as well, which he kind of uses to ram people out the way and make an escape.
Like that one time he does that one
but
thing.
I mean, General Grievous was only ever in one film, so it had to be the one time he did that one thing. And
he does the spider thing a few times in Clone Wars, right?
They actually brought back the voice actor that did the voice for him in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. Last time.
Did we speak about this?
Yes, we talked about how they bring back all the original voice actors.
I'm sorry, listener. I don't really re-listen to our second episodes before we do another one. I apologise.
Wow.
I listened to the episode like 3 times when it first comes out, right? I no shame that I like to revel and to see the points, because it's really annoying when you're listening back through an episode and you're like, I could have said this or I could have said that, you know? I know you get that a lot as well when you're editing it and you're listening to your own point and you're like, I could have said this, you know? But I listen to it again and I try and refine my argument. Or not even an argument, just a point, you know?
Yeah, I get really annoyed listening to myself, specifically on the topic of Star Wars, the Star Wars conversation we had last week. I did not do an adequate job of defending my stance on The Last Jedi, but whatever, it's over now.
Did you think I did a good enough job trying to criticise The Last Jedi?
Well, yeah, you definitely beat me in that discussion, that's for sure.
Yes, well, thank you. Well, again, Star Wars. I'm actually, you know, I'm having fun playing Battlefront for the first time in a while. It's not even just because of the good general. It's just, I don't know. I'm just enjoying being in that world again. Star Wars is
well past the launch controversy of that game.
Well past the launch controversy of that game. You know what? The game kind of isn't even that much different. The content has been really slow getting implemented, and again, that's why there's such steep drop off. The only people that remained were the hardcores, but coming back to it, you know, I'm having some amount of fun, but again, that's because I really get burnt out. I remember I played a lot of that game, and you know what? I know that the thing that gets really put under the radar for this game, it's the campaign. The campaign was great for Battlefront 2. It's a good story, all canon as well.
I have the smallest of small interactions with Battlefront. I never played the original ones as a kid. I just never crossed my radar.
I played the original Battlefront 2.
And I've only played the first these newer ones in beta, and neither of them really grabbed me. So,
I even though you would think that maybe a beta should be a good taster of what's to come, I don't feel like most betas do a good job at conveying what a finished game will be like.
Do you remember playing the Halo Reach beta back in the day? It was really not similar at all to the final launch game.
I remember playing a lot of I never had an Xbox at the time. I got an Xbox pretty much like a month after Halo Reach came out, but I did play the beta at your house. We were kids.
You know, I looked up the true achievements just because I was curious to see what the most played game on that website is.
Right.
If you don't know, True Achievements is a website that helps you track achievements, so of course I have an account on it.
Okay, I'd never heard of it, but apparently you know a lot about it.
Well, the basic idea is that some achievement scores are crap. Like, you get 5G for doing something that's insanely difficult. This is a common problem in achievements.
Do we get 5G achievements anymore?
Yes, you do, and they're very nice.
Right, okay.
Anyway, so True Achievements, its original aim was to give achievements a more actual score based on what they're actually worth.
Yeah.
That's why it's called True Achievements. But I just kind of use it for their guides, but whatever. Anyway, I looked up to see what their most played games were, and number 1 is Halo 3, and then number 2 is Halo Reach. So...
I mean, in terms of Xbox playtime, I'm not really surprised. They were some big games for Xbox, really. I mean, Halo 3 and Halo Reach, they were prime Halo for the 360.
I think then number 3 was Gears of War, the first one.
Okay, I was never a big Gears fan, but I mean,
No, it was weird seeing that, because all 3 of the Gears of War, or the original Gears of War games, were in like the top 15, and it's like, I've never played any of these. This is like a massive franchise that I guess I'm supposed to have played, but, well, I tell a lie. I played the first 10 minutes of the first game when it was free with gold, and found it incredibly boring, and didn't continue.
I own the first 2 Gears games, maybe even the first 3, I don't know. I hope I only own the first 2, and I got them maybe in like 2014 or something, and I've still only played like maybe half of the first game. That goes for the same with the Dead Space games. I own the first 2 Dead Space games, and I think I've only finished the first one.
I hope we're not committing heresy by saying that the Gears of War games aren't very good. But,
I don't think they're bad. I don't know. I just never got into them. You know, I played half the first one. I thought this is just a third person shooter. You know, I didn't really have my mind wasn't really altered by playing it. I didn't think this is a whole new different way to play games. I think maybe I was just too into the FPS mindset at the time. I mean, I play a third person shooter now in Fortnite. You know.
I'm gonna load up that list of the most played games, because even though it only counts people who have an account on True Achievements, so obviously the numbers are significantly lower than real.
Yes.
But I think it still gives a fair judgment, because I think it's like 200,000 is the number for, or like 290,000 is the number for Halo 3, which I think is like a fair sample size.
So wait, how does it track achievements?
It's linked to your Xbox account.
Ah, right, okay. So if an achievement's worth 5G in reality, but it's really hard, that website might say no, it's actually worth 10G.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Is there any achievements on Halo Reach that you specifically want to mention?
No, I was just going to look up the list of games just to see if you could guess what the most popular games are.
Right, okay.
I'm curious of your skill. So I've already given you number 1 and number 2 and number 3.
Yeah.
Let me just load it up. I'm going to cut this bit out while my computer cranks to a halt because I clicked on a link.
What might the top... What we're looking for, top 10?
Let's go with top 10, yeah.
Top 10, and you've given me the top 3. And you mentioned something about all the Gears games being in the top 15, so...
I think, I could be wrong.
What will number 4 be? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Modern Warfare 3? You're going with Modern Warfare 3?
Modern Warfare 2 was the more popular game, but I don't know, Modern Warfare 3 caught me at a particular time in my video game life.
Well, this isn't about you, though.
Okay, well, Modern Warfare 2 then.
I'm almost loaded up the list. I do believe Modern Warfare 2 is in the top 10, though. Hence my leading you.
Then
Modern Warfare 2 is number 6.
Then I would say Black Ops 2 and 1. They're both there, I think.
Black Ops 1 is there, it's number 7. Black Ops 2 isn't, though.
That's interesting.
I was wrong, by the way. Gears of War, the first one, is number 4, not number 3.
Oh, what's number 3 then? Oh, so Gears of War was number 4, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3. What would number 3 be? Assassin's Creed 2.
Assassin's Creed 2 is number 10.
Assassin's Creed Brotherhood?
Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is not on the list. Assassin's Creed 2 is the only Assassin's Creed in the top 10.
Right. Well, not what number 3 be? Christ.
It's a really obvious
Halo
one.
3 ODST.
Halo 3 and Halo Reach are the only Halo games.
Right. A really obvious one, I'll hit myself.
Yes.
You don't tell me.
It's Grand Theft Auto 4.
Ah, Jesus Christ. I actually wouldn't have said any GTA game, that's surprising.
You want my favorite is number 5. Number 5 is Hexic HD.
Didn't every player in the world get that?
Yes, that's exactly why it's up there, because it was free with every Xbox 360.
Wow. Is Minecraft there? No.
Minecraft isn't there, but I think that's just because there's so many different versions of Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of not surprised. I don't really think that would be there.
Because it's like you've got the 360 version and the Xbox One version, and then again there's the new version,
The unified
which is like
Minecraft.
cross-platform. Yeah. So the 2 you're missing is number 8, which is Gears of War 2, and then number 9, which is appropriate. It's Red Dead Redemption.
Ah, okay. Okay, yeah, right, okay.
First one.
I don't think I guess some of them I guess in like a random order, but in terms of order, no, I'm awful at that. No, I'm well out of my gaming
It's
mood.
curious, that it's hard to guess what the most popular games are, but then when you hear the list, it's that's obvious. Obviously, Halo 3 is the number 1.
I think maybe Halo 3 and Reach are the most kind of, I guess so. I think the rest are more kind of, I mean, see
GTA
why.
4, you can see why it's there. Everyone played GTA 4.
Yeah, I get. I see again. I'm like, I guess. With Halo 2, with Halo 3 and Reach, I'm kind of like, I think they deserve to be there. I think the rest are like.
That's because you played them.
Yeah, I know that I can only. But then again, with Assassin's Creed 2, that's number 10. I guess I would say I think I would have thought it would be higher. But Brotherhood was my entry into the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Well,
you know?
I'm actually surprised Assassin's Creed 2 is on the list because it's a single player only game. But
See, I'm not. I don't know why. I think it's because the start of the
I-
Ezio story. You know.
I just assumed that all of the top 10 games would be multiplayer only. Or not multiplayer only, but multiplayer focused, because those are the games that get the most players.
That's true. That's true.
And like Skyrim isn't on that list. Skyrim isn't in the top 10.
I suppose I don't know. It's if I feel like any game that came out after 2011 probably won't be, because I don't know. I feel there was a real decline in the generation as people were waiting for the Xbox One. You know, in no way in hell did I think Halo 4 was going to be on that list. You know.
No. Halo 4 is, let's see. It's 20th. Halo 4 is.
That's higher than I thought. I was thinking 30s.
Yeah.
What about Halo Wars, the first one?
Not even on the first page by the looks of it.
Right, doesn't matter. If it's not the first page, it isn't worth looking for. Oh, that's weird. That's weird, man. I've never heard of this website before, but now it's going to be like a fun trivia thing that I'm going to go and hunt through every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I wonder where this game ranks, you know?
I like True Achievements. I've been using it for a while. It's like... It serves a function which AchievementHunter.com used to do, which it would have the list of the games, and it would have all the achievements.
Now AchievementHunter.com is just Rooster Teeth Light.
It's just where they put their Let's Play videos now, which is kind of disappointing because... But hey, I've got a new website for that now, so... Because, weirdly enough, the way I got into Rooster Teeth and all that was through achievement guides.
These all come full circle.
And they don't even do those anymore.
That is a shame. Like, I feel like the achievement guides were becoming a less lucrative industry.
Were they ever really an industry?
Oh, not industry, but like, you know, thing that would generate income. It was always about the Let's Play. That's what took off in 2010, you know?
That's why Achievement Hunter did it. They switched to Let's Plays.
They did switch to Let's Plays. I mean, did they stop doing fails of the week?
They had like another channel just called Game Fails for a while. I don't know if that's still running.
Because I know that series stopped getting funny, and then they still did it like it was the best thing ever, and I went, no, what are you doing?
Well, once they switched away from Reach and it was just like, oh, it's any game now, it suddenly became less interesting. I guess that's just a personal thing.
I don't know if it got less interesting because it was not just Reach. I think some of the Reach ones got boring. The ones I thought were really cool was like Horse. I thought Horse was really innovative.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Do you have anything more to talk about, or are we just rambling on about things we like or dislike?
You want to get rambly? It was a once-in-a-lifetime event. We got a new CGP Grey video.
Oh, jeez, we did. And it was such a strange topic.
It was cool though. I liked it.
Yeah.
This is nothing real. You know what? I have a good topic.
Go on.
Twitter. You heard
removing
about
the
Twitter
like
stuff?
function.
Removing the like button. That's it, yeah. What do you think about
They
this?
said it's because they want people to more meaningful interactions, like they want to encourage people to speak instead of just going, I like that. They want you to actually respond to let the person know that you like it by typing it out. I think it's just going to decrease Twitter interactions like hell. I don't think anyone's going to respond to your tweet now.
I would agree. Because I think they underestimate the difference between hitting a button and typing out a response message.
They do.
Most people can't be bothered doing that.
Do you remember when the Twitter like button was like a star? It was a favourite thing.
I wasn't using Twitter much before the heart.
Alright, okay, well, I didn't use it much either, but I definitely remember the star. It was like, you know, it was like, I like this thing. And also they changed it to heart, which I think was smart. It worked better, it conveyed you to an emotional response to the thing, you know? Or you appreciate it.
Well, it's good because the heart can mean you like it or like you're sympathetic.
Yeah,
or, you know,
the heart's a pretty strong statement to make. I don't think the heart works much on Facebook because they have other reactions along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But on definitely on Twitter, I think the heart is a strong way to just say that I've seen your tweet, I sympathise, like or something your tweet, I appreciate your tweet, you know. But I think removing it altogether, they're going to regret that, man. I actually think they'll backtrack. I don't think that'll actually be implemented. I mean, I don't get, not to, you know, put my social profile down at Nathan Tinney. I don't really get the most Twitter traffic anyway unless I'm getting involved in a really hot topic discussion on like a thread. But typically, you know, I mean, removing it is just going to make me feel like nobody's reading my tweet.
I mean, I basically only use Twitter as a news service for the most part. I don't know about you.
I use Facebook for news service for the most part.
Facebook's not a reliable news service though. Like I use it for more like pop culture news as opposed to real life news.
I can tell you for like a fact that I have my Facebook down to almost like a T. I can tell you what's fake and what's real on my Facebook pretty easily. Like I think Facebook's pretty good for me, but that's because I've really tailored my Facebook. I've been working on it since like 2012 or 11. I've got my Facebook down to a pretty good standard where even though a lot of fake stuff does get through, like I know it's fake. I don't. You know, if there's any question about it, I'm pretty good at guessing that it's fake. It's like I'm almost clairvoyant with how I use Facebook now. I'm pretty good with Facebook, but I don't know if that's a comment on me or if it's a comment on the service. Twitter I use in the same way, but to a much lesser extent because again, people can just retweet stuff, and a lot of people I follow on Facebook or Twitter, the only thing they're interested in talking about is American politics, which. Jesus Christ, I don't care that much.
Oh my god, I'm so glad the midterms are over now because my Twitter was just flooded with people telling me to vote.
It's like, Jesus, why? People talk about how America is the greatest democracy in the world, right? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But all I know is that how fucking worried does the voter base that actually do actively take part in politics have to be to feel like they need to encourage someone to vote in this country or even in Canada, I would hope. People don't see voting as like a thing that, you know, you do to get a reward. You do it because it's just something to be done.
It's so bizarre. We're getting a bit political here, but it's really weird to see everyone posting proud that they got a sticker that said "I voted." It's like, what are you, children?
It's because
it's a sticker.
It's because they're trying to say, "Hey, I voted. It's important. This is see, I voted, guys. Here's my sticker to prove that I voted." And it's like, I get in the UK at least, voting is something that's just like, it's fun to take part in the political process. Don't get me wrong. But it's more something that's just like doing a housework.
It's not something you brag about.
It's
just
like doing a chore.
It's like doing your taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, yes, when I vote, I can say, hey, I voted. It's like something to mention, but I'm not going to tell you for 5 weeks every single day, make sure you vote. I might say, hey, voting's important once a month before, or I might do it 2 weeks or a week before or the day before. But I'm not going to tell you.
Or you just campaign for voting to be compulsory.
Yeah, I'm not really sold on that, but I mean, I get
Aussie style.
I get the spirit behind making it compulsory, but I don't know. It's just people talk about it every day. You're like, no, I get voting's important. Anybody who's going to vote by this point is probably already signed up. You're not convincing anyone at this point. You're just pissing people off. Anyone who still follows you and hasn't muted you, either is such a big fan of your work they're willing to put up with it, or they're already signed up to vote. You know, anybody who isn't
if you're
voting has
telling
already
people
muted
to
you.
vote on the day of the polls, you're too late. Anyone who's not voting at that point isn't going to be convinced because they see your tweet to go vote.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
everybody feels need to look. I voted. Look how cool I am that I voted. You know, it's like it's that's fine if you do it like by itself to say, hey, I voted. But see, when you advertise it for 6 weeks to make sure it's very important that you vote, then posting, oh, I voted. Like, oh my god, oh my, they voted? I mean, they've been talking about it for 6 weeks, but they actually went and done it? It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
I'm in a weird situation where, because of circumstances in my life, I've never ever voted.
Yes.
Because, obviously, I moved here before I became of voting age, and I can't vote here because I'm not a citizen yet. So it's all very strange to me.
I have voted in the UK elections.
You've done your civic duty.
I've done my civic duty, and you know it's a fun thing. You know, Facebook you can get little kind of filters to put on your profile picture to say what party you
I
vote
hate
for and
those.
stuff.
I fucking hate those.
Right, so I think the last time, this is 2016 that happened. Maybe it was 2016. I think it was pretty sure it was 2016. Maybe it was 2017. I don't know. Over the past like 9 months or something, I've started to really resent Facebook filters as well. I don't know why. Like, I've got Batman vs Superman ones. I've got Rogue One ones. I've got Star Wars Day. I've got Game of Thrones ones stuff. I've got a lot of them, and I've really started to resent them as well. I don't know why. I did it for Star Wars Day, I think, just because it was Star Wars Day. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and maybe for every single occasion I've done one, I think, oh, well, this is an exception. But see, in the vacuum, when I'm not doing it, I think, God, I hate those Facebook filters. God, I despise them. And every once in a while I go, oh, I'll do it. Part of the problem.
Follow us on Facebook. We won't ever use filters.
We won't ever use filters on our podcast feed on Facebook.
We won't ever tell you to vote on Twitter either.
We won't ever tell you to vote on Twitter either.